All right, so today we are heading back into the Amazon, into the deep heart of the Amazon with my buddy Paula Danti. Paula, oi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Thanks for doing this. Paula is a co-founder of Naturalia Retreat, and we're going to post all that information here. Naturalia Retreat Center. They're located in Iquitos, Peru, and that's in the Amazon. I was in Iquitos several years ago, and the only way to reach Iquitos is by boat or plane because it's surrounded by water. So you can't drive. It's a really unique
Correct.
place. And I'm going to let you talk, Paula, about the history and backstory of ayahuasca. But we're going to talk today about how ayahuasca can help people heal and in addressing such ailments as one of the big ailments that people struggle with on a regular basis is anxiety, depression, just stress in general. And so many people are using pharmaceuticals to cope with these stressors, but there are alternatives, and ayahuasca may be one of them. And it's a plant medicine that's been used for, you could elaborate a little bit more. But so, Paula, let's first talk about where you're from and a little bit of backstory of how you landed in Iquitos, Peru. I know you're quite the adventurer, and you've lived in other places overseas and Bali, and you're a diver and um, a, a teacher of scuba diving. But tell us a little bit of backstory about you, and then how you came upon founding Naturalia Retreat Center in Iquitos.
Okay, so my background is biology, yes,
Okay.
and as I love the lifestyles, I love nature. So I was working in a laboratory, by the way, and I fell in love with scuba diving. I stopped working in the laboratory, and I work and I with diving, and I traveled the world ever since. And at some point, I was living in Indonesia, and I met this guy who also had a business in diving there, and we were planning to do something together, to work together somehow. And then he came with the idea to open a retreat center in the Amazon rainforest, and he talked about ayahuasca. I didn't know what it was. I said, "What is that?" And he explained me because he had quite an experience with that. And I like it. I like the idea. I like the idea of the nature. I like the idea of protecting the nature. I like the idea to work with plants. And that's how I end up here.
Wow. Okay, very cool. And where are you originally from?
I am from Brazil, the south of Brazil.
Okay. All right. So, Paula, give us a little backstory. What is ayahuasca? What is it?
It's a vine that grows in tropical rainforests. It grows in Peru, in some places in Brazil, in Colombia, and in Ecuador as well. Um, and is used by thousands of years by the local healers. Nowadays, people call them shamans, but really they were the healers, right? No doctors in the area, so people treat themselves with plants. And ayahuasca was this special vine that was used in ritualistic, in rituals to heal people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
Um,
it's been around for thousands of years.
yes, it's been around for thousands of years because it's actually how the humanity start to treat themselves. Even in Western society, If you go to Middle Ages, the people was using herbs to treat illnesses, and that's what happened here in the American continent, right? The tribes of the natives, they didn't have doctors until very, very, very modern age. So they use plants, all kind of plants. So actually, shamanism is now getting the hype, but there is a whole line of plant medicine that comes with it that makes part of this as well.
Hmm. In the so ayahuasca it originated from the jungle, right? Is there any particular country that it originated from, or did it come from all of the countries that you mentioned?
No, it comes from all of them because what happened is the healers they use their their own plants according to the region, but they are these plants, for example, ayahuasca, that grows in all these regions. So they just use it commonly. It was used in Brazil, in the Amazon part of Brazil, not all around the country, but in the Amazon part, in Peru, in Colombia, it has been used by the indigenous tribes for millennia. Yeah.
Okay. And what was the main purpose of this vine? What was the main purpose for ayahuasca?
The main purpose was healing, was to clear paths, to open energies, to connect, to unblock any blockages that can be there. They say that the plant is visionary. If you speak with any of the healers, they say it's not an hallucinogenic, it's a visionary. It will give you visions. It can show you your future, it can show you your past, and it can show you your present.
Okay. And so for people, I'm thinking back when there wasn't really any medicine where you could go into a pharmacy or go see a doctor and buy medicine. They relied on plants, and I'm trying to think of what type of problems they had where ayahuasca would play a role. Do you think that back then people were experiencing anxiety and depression and used ayahuasca as a means to address anxiety and depression back then?
Um, to be honest, if you ever live in a place like the jungle, if you ever speak with the locals here, they have a very, very distinctive approach. Anxiety and depression is something uh, that we have been labeling relatively recently. Like if you go 200 years ago in time, probably these words didn't make any sense, anxiety and depression, right? And for the tribes and people who has a very simple lifestyle, they don't phrase it that way. They don't talk about anxiety and depression. They have a very different focus on life. If you want to mix it a little bit with really a little bit of psychology, anxiety and depression comes a lot from isolation, which is something that I think our society is facing right now, especially because phones can be a mean to communicate each other, but also can be a mean to isolate each other, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there are so many things that in the modern world can cause a complete different mindset that what people had when they are in contact with nature and living in a community like it is a local tribe, you know.
Hmm.
So they use it mostly, and again, think that this was used by tribes. So their problems was, um, I cannot hunt today, see, or the gods are not looking upon me with a good face. These were the problems that they were having.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Even nowadays, if you speak with the local people here in the Amazon, they do ayahuasca if they need to find a job and they found that their way is blocked and they cannot find it, or if they need to face a big decision and they want to do the right decision. So that's the local mindset about this.
Okay. Interesting. So, for the people that come to you to experience ayahuasca, what are some of the reasons that people have come to you to to move through an ayahuasca and participate in an ayahuasca ceremony? What are some of their reasons?
Now, I work mainly with people from US, from Europe, which is a complete different dynamic, a social dynamic, right, than the people who lives here. Uh, Honestly, main concerns is connection with themselves, anxiety, depression, and to learn a little bit more about how to relate to others.
Okay. So working with these people that come to your retreat center, how does ayahuasca help them deal with or work through some of those issues of anxiety and depression? How have you seen it work? Is there a way to explain that? I mean, if people had really amazing breakthroughs where there's like, wow, the anxiety is very diminished or isn't there anymore, or they feel much more vibrant and alive after a ceremony. And is it something that you need to continue to do to experience relief from these symptoms?
Yeah, that's a great question. um, I have a very scientific mind, right? Ayahuasca has a mystic side. Also, it has a very, very scientific side. Mhm. They are things that you can explain through chemical reactions. They are things you cannot explain through science. Yes. I have seen people coming, having a whole week here, and leaving from here as a complete new person with a complete new mindset. And I have seen people who has come and has left without any change.
Okay.
Most of the people has experienced some kind of change. Is the people who comes and goes without any change, they are few. And the only explanation that I can find that why some people has nothing and some people has a life-changing experience is not because the ayahuasca itself, but it's because of the person itself. That's what makes the difference to me. Ayahuasca is a tool and it's a very powerful tool, yes, but I think that the person is the one who makes the change, and ayahuasca helps, but it has to be inside the person.
So when people decide to participate in an ayahuasca ceremony, what I'm hearing from you is that they have to have the right mindset, the right mindset and idea with intention before diving into the ayahuasca. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
exactly. And they have to be committed. They have to be committed in a way, some people take commitment as something that, as a weight. Oh, I am committed to do something, I have to, right? And
Yes.
some people take commitment as dedication, as no, I am dedicated to this. I want to have this, I want this to happen, so I will commit myself to this. So the commitment has to go from it has to come from the light side, from the side of dedication, and not from the side of sacrifice, really. Any change takes effort. It's not effortless. Any change, any progress, especially when we talk about something like depressions, addictions, anxiety, you need a deep change for that. Yes, and this takes work, takes a lot of inner work, and you need to be committed to do it.
So Paula, when you say committed to do the deeper inner work, what does that mean?
That means to not only to have the motivation to do the change, because that's easier, right? Like anybody can come in a retreat, at least in a retreat environment, you are in a place that has it's a not judgmental environment, so you don't have criticism, you have time for yourself, so you don't have pressure of things to do. It's pretty much everything is created for you to have the time and space that you need to focus on yourself and create a change. See, to have the motivation to create it, to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
But what is hard is to have the consistency to keep that change. In order to keep a change, we need consistency. Yes. And that's when the commitment comes in. I say, okay, I will go back to my normal life where I have people who may not agree with what I think, where that I have people who may not like me the way I would like everybody to like me, and I will keep up with the things that I believe in.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it like I look at consistency almost as similar to, for me, I call it a discipline. Like every day, even if I'm not feeling great, if I'm even feeling crappy, I still have to be disciplined enough to do the things necessary to take care of myself, to feel well. And I need to remain like what you say, consistent, but it's a discipline for me. It's like even when I'm not feeling well,
Yeah.
I still have to get up and do my routine, do what's necessary every day, and take these necessary steps every day, regardless of how I feel, so that I'm taking care of myself.
Exactly. Yes. 100%. 100%. Because what happens is many people wait to feel the motivation to do it, right? But they don't know that the motivation is hard to come. If it's not there today, there is no reason why it will come tomorrow. So we need to do it anyway, and that
Yeah.
will create a habit, which
Yeah.
probably is healthier than the older one, right?
Yes. Well, you know,
Yeah.
there's a, go ahead.
No, and it's like I can relate this to going to the gym. Like sometimes you don't feel like going to the gym, but you say, okay, I go anyway because I don't want to miss it. And after you did it, then you have your reward. Like, oh, I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad I didn't skip it. Yes. And that is what you say. Yes, the discipline when you don't feel like it, still go and do it. And
Yes.
then the reward will come. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So there's been a lot of research, as you know, there's a lot of research being done right now with plant medicine and
Yeah.
psychedelic medicine, DMT, ayahuasca, LSD, psilocybin. Um, there's a lot of them that are under research right now, and they are having profound results that they've never seen with regular psychotropic medication from pharmaceutical companies. There's also been some research that has shown that people that have taken a psychedelic just once have nearly diminished all their symptoms, like with people that have struggled with PTSD and depression. So my next question is, do you feel is it possible for somebody, and I know it can't, it doesn't work the same for everybody, but is it possible for somebody that, in your opinion, that's been struggling with depression all their life, or they come back from a world where they struggle now with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and they experience an ayahuasca ceremony, is it possible to completely eradicate and eliminate their PTSD or depression?
Yes, 100%.
So it does help people sometimes like that.
Yes,
Okay. But
100%.
what do
Yes.
you think the percentages
And
of, uh-huh.
the reason why it helps them is, as opposed to pharmaceuticals that they treat the symptoms, ayahuasca what treats is the cause. Ayahuasca forces you to look inside you and to go to the very root of anxiety and change that. So once you change the cause of the problem, then you don't have any more symptoms. That's the main difference between, and the natural medicine and the pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So okay, so what percentage of people do you think would be that lucky? What percentage, like say 10 people come and they're all suffering from depression, and there's that one person or two people through a ceremony that have that incredible experience and they're no longer depressed? I mean, do you have any idea what a percentage would be? That would
Is really hard to say. I really think that it depends on the person. I
Yeah.
also think that it depends on the process. Here we take it for 1 week. Yes. I have seen, let's say, out of 10 people, I could say two probably will be okay with 1 week, and at least five of them, they may need one more week, because 1 week, sometimes is not enough,
Yes.
depending a lot on what the cause of the depression and anxiety. If they can tackle that easily, then it's fine. But sometimes, our minds and our hearts, they get a lot of layers to protect themselves from life
Mm-hmm.
and from things that can hurt us. And sometimes 1 week is not enough to peel all those layers and get to the root of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That leads me to my next question. With psychedelics, people are talking about microdosing psychedelics, and I don't have any knowledge about microdosing. Is that possible to do that with ayahuasca? And do people do that? Do they microdose ayahuasca?
People is doing it. There is nothing that any of the local healers will even think about, because this is microdosing. It's a Western concept, if you want. Nobody here works like, not of the local people ever will work like that.
Okay. So that's more of a newer concept.
Yes, 100%. It's not
Okay.
a traditional concept, it's a newer concept.
Okay. And it, for people that do a ceremony, let's say the local people, the Peruvian people in the Amazon that live in Iquitos, how often would they go through a ayahuasca ceremony um, in their lifetime, I guess? Do they do it once a year? Do they do it a couple times a year?
they may do it. No, not even. They may do it a couple of times in their lives, probably.
In the lifetime. Okay.
Yeah, maybe 3 as maximum.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I come to your retreat center and I come for a week, how what do I experience during that week?
During that week, you will experience 3 ceremonies. Yeah. Um, the ceremonies, they are led by a shaman from the Shipibo ethnic. And the first ceremony is kind of an introduction, so people knows how it feels. Many times what happens is people is scared to lose control. That's the main fear with ayahuasca. Oh, I will say something that I don't want to say, or I will do something that I don't want to do. So the first ceremony is always light for people to know how it feels and to learn to navigate the experience. And after that, they have a private interview with the shaman or the healer. And then they decide in the second ceremony if they want to go deeper in whatever work they need to do. And because we have a constant monitoring after each ceremony, we always have a talk, and we have a good view of where this person is, then we know if they will go deeper or not on the next step.
I see. Okay. That sounds great.
Mm.
Well, Paula, I don't have any more questions about ayahuasca. Did I miss anything, or is there anything that you could add about the benefits of ayahuasca that we didn't cover? We pretty much covered it.
Now, what I would like to say is that sometimes people has a little bit of unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Many times people expect a magic pill that they will take it and their life is going to be good, which is very, very unlikely. Ayahuasca is what it does is shows you the way, and the one who has to walk it is yourself. And the hard part is to walk it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you will have a clear path to follow. So that's the benefit of it. It will show you a clear path to follow, but you need to have the commitment or the discipline and the heart to follow it, to walk it yourself.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting because, yeah, I think I mentioned that I did ayahuasca a few years ago. I actually did it in Iquitos, and
That's yeah.
I had an experience where I was just all I could do is feel gratitude towards everything and everyone that's ever come through my life. It was just
Yeah.
a moment of pure, not nonstop, pure gratitude, even for the people who I felt wronged me. All I could do is just feel love and gratitude towards that person for what I've gained and what I learned from them. It was just nothing but pure love. It was really an amazing experience. And
Yeah.
I still, the work for me on that and that recognition is to always kind of be careful, I guess, of my judgments and my
Yeah.
ideas about others, right? Because, and so I have this technique that I use that if I do see or feel something, if I become frustrated or if I become angry or upset, then I just say, stop, I pause, and I go, there's another way to understand this situation. There's
Mm.
another way to see this situation. Because if I'm
Mm.
feeling frustration or I'm feeling angry, um, I'm seeing it incorrectly. There's a different way to see it. And I step
Yeah.
back, but that's a part of the ayahuasca experience that I had. That's the work that you're
Yeah.
referring to,
Exactly.
the consistency,
Exactly.
but the discipline to continually kind of focus on
Mhm.
what came up for you. because there's
Yeah.
what comes up in your experience is gonna be very prevalent. For me, it was, and from what you're sharing, it sounds like the same for others, and it gives
Yeah.
you information on what to really focus in on in your life.
Yeah. You receive a very powerful tool, and you use it perfectly. That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. It
You
was
know
a
what they say, people here?
hmm,
People here says that ayahuasca is the medicine of love. Um, it's a vine, so it connects. A vine, the energy of a vine is it's an energy of connection, establishing connections. It connects you to yourself, to others, to nature. But it is ultimately the medicine of love. And I do see that when people focus on their heart during the ceremonies, they get way more out of it than if they focus on their minds and their thoughts. So at some point, all these visions can be very useful, can be nice, can show you things, but I do believe that your feelings are the best guides you can ever have.
yeah, yeah. It was quite an experience, and I I always said, I have friends that have done it, a few times, and they've asked me if I've ever wanted to go do it again, and I'm like going, maybe one day, but I don't feel the desire to, because my experience was a very powerful one, and it's almost like because it was so powerful, Paula, I don't want to do another ayahuasca and go, it wasn't the same, it was different, and they probably are all different. You know what I mean? But it was so
Yeah,
powerful and so
yeah.
wonderful that I don't want to take anything away from that experience. So,
That's
well,
perfect. That's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. Well, Paola, that's all I have. Paula Danti is she's the one of the she's the co-founder of Naturalia Retreat Center, and it is a very special retreat center in the heart of the Amazon in Iquitos, Peru. I'll post all your info so people can find you guys. And if I ever head out
Oh,
to
thank you.
Iquitos, I will definitely spend a week with you guys to hang out and do a ceremony or so.
I think you have to come to know this place.
Yeah, one day. Well, Paula, obrigado.
Yes.
Thank you. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you,
this.
Rene.
Yeah, and
Thank you very much.
yeah,
And thank you for sharing this time with me. And you're welcome here in the Amazon rainforest anytime you want to come.
thank you. Thank you. And you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, keep in touch.
Okay.
Bye.
Yep. Bye.